Chelsea surprised everyone on transfer deadline day when they made the purchase of Jadon Sancho on a loan with an obligation to buy from Manchester United. Now, against Bournemouth, Sancho made his debut off the bench and in my opinion changed the game in favour for Chelsea to get a late winner through Christopher Nkunku. In this video we're going to talk about Sancho's role within the game and how he can be an important signing for Chelsea going forward. So let's get into it. Now, as Jadon Sancho had just signed, Enzo Maresca decided not to play him in this game to start off with and actually set up with Neto on the wing. Now, in the first half, Chelsea struggled much compared to Bournemouth. They failed to create much despite having a lot more possession, and Bournemouth were working very hard to defend against Chelsea and stop them key through balls to Jackson, who in the end didn't really have many big chances with the brilliant defending of Bournemouth. Now, overall, Chelsea held their own. They saved a brilliant penalty through Sanchez and ended up going on to win the game late with an Nkunku goal set up by Jadon Sancho, whose inclusion off the bench at half time was a great decision by Maresca. And bringing him on later in this game actually ended up working out because Bournemouth's team was very much more tired when Sancho came on, and he was able to get into them 1v1 positions that he wanted. That coupled up with in the 61st minute, Tosin also came on, who's a very good player passing out from the back. It made Chelsea able to break lines pretty easily in the second half and get Sancho and Cucurella into them attacking positions where they could 2v1 defenders. Now, this started to happen when Cucurella kept exploiting that left half space. He was finally getting into them attacking areas, forcing a centre back to come over and try and cover him and the full back to drop inwards. Bournemouth didn't really like going out wide too much, especially later on in the game because they were a lot more tired and didn't want to do as much running as possible. So Sancho coming on stretched the Bournemouth team out as he would always keep his width and then come in like a traditional winger would closer to the box. This allowed for moments where Cucurella could give the ball into Sancho and continue his run inside the box, which did create chances for Chelsea. Sancho has a very good decision-making ability and knows when to use Cucurella as a dummy or whether to pass it off to him because it's the better option. And this is something that helped them a lot. Cucurella's work with Sancho on this left was really good and it gave that confidence that Sancho has always wanted. Sancho was able to come in and dribble 1-against-1 or v2, while Cucurella and even Jackson at the start came over to help him, giving him options and making him create chances. The movement between all three of them is just so fluid and it's something that you would see from a good left-hand side from good attacking teams. And it seemed to work a lot more than having someone that would be a breakaway option such as Neto, but that did make more sense in the first half to use against Bournemouth, who had very much good legs at the back. And I do think it is a good thing to mention that Sancho is never a bad player. He struggled at Manchester United because they couldn't find a real setup for him and he kind of went there getting promised a lot and it never really was achieved. But the things that he did in Germany should not be forgotten, and if you can get him in within the same role, in the right role for the team, he will definitely be a viable option, at least for the cheap price that Chelsea got him for. And this is another thing that he was brilliant at in this game against Bournemouth, was coming back and just assuring pressure. Bournemouth still had chances in the second half like the first, even though they were tiring out a bit, and Bournemouth were always an attacking threat on the counter and the transition, but also in settled play, crossing the ball in and shooting from distance. Sancho was coming back and also helping Cucurella, who helped him in attack, and being able to play closely to people like Vega so he didn't have to cover as much ground as possible. And in this game, maybe it was a willingness to prove himself, but Sancho was really getting himself about and trying to help the team in all situations. Even when Sanchez got himself stuck in the corner, he would come deeper when Cucurella went inside to try and give them that pass outwards and be very comfortable on the ball, giving it into Cucurella. But the main thing about this was not only his work with Cucurella was great, they seemed to play off each other so much, which I think is something Sancho really wants. Here is one of the moments where it really stood out that Sancho is ready for business. He comes the ball, he brings it up from deep and he passes it through to Cucurella, who's in that half space yet again, pushing up. Already Sancho has the idea that he wants to pass it into Cucurella and continue running. He knows they're not going to follow him or be able to catch him, and he can run into that half space across the pitch. This is brilliant drivability by Sancho and a brilliant awareness and football IQ to take that space in advance and make that run into the other wing. Not many wingers will necessarily take that run because they will often stay on their side, but he takes the initiative to make that run here, and not only that, he makes the run with Cole Palmer to give him a 1-2 option, and when he can't find any options, he keeps the ball and passes it back. And we can also talk about forcing things, which he did I think later on in the game, but he also let things tick along. There was so many times where he would work with the players around him, always give them an option for the pass and always continue to pass it off to them. I think in this game it was a great example of him using that brilliant football IQ that he has, and while I do think you would want more runners off him in the future because he can find these brilliant passes, which he did here with Cucurella multiple times when he was running through, he is a very smart player and will find the best options for his team overall. And one of the things that Sancho Sancho loves is when he's going against tired legs, he can do that 1v1 brilliant play. He is someone that does look to isolate defenders and go past them, and there was a few times he kept going past Adam Smith on this right hand side quite easily. He did a little nutmeg here to go past him and uses his strength and dribbling ability to keep the ball. He brings 3 players over to him and then ends up passing off to Cucurella once more. And there was a few times that he would look to dribble it inside and end up passing it to another player to run off of. He was causing constant problems for Bournemouth down this left hand side, and they were having to bring 2 to 3 players over to help him, which in turn was giving more space for them inside players such as João Felix, who came on, and Cucurella. And this is why by the time that it's the 86th minute, Sancho is the one that Chelsea are looking to pass the ball to the most. He gets the ball deep on the left wing yet again, where he has forced the player out wide. This time Bournemouth are trying to defend a bit more, trying to get that draw, and there's lots of good runners off him. We've got Cucurella holding his position this time in the middle. You've got a runner off him to the left where it creates a defender to go with him, and it just opens up that space where Sancho can find Nkunku through the middle, and Nkunku deserves a lot of credit for a brilliant turn and a great finish to win the game for Chelsea. But teams catch on to things, and I think this was just going to happen when Sancho is causing problems over and over again on that left hand side, and eventually they were going to get the reward despite not necessarily having the most chances in the game. And looking at the stats, you can just see that Jadon Sancho is a brilliant attacking outlet for Chelsea. In this game, he came on at half time and got 24 at 26 accurate passes, created 2 chances, obviously got that 1 assist for the goal, ended up making 3 touches in the opposition box, 2 out of 4 dribbles, which is very good, and overall making 4 recoveries in the game. He is a player that isn't necessarily going to bring all that defensive work, and he's going to bring different things to Neto. Sancho is a more smart dribbling technique player, but he can also do these things as well, and I think for the money that Chelsea got him for, it's a really good deal, and when he's going to play like this, I think he can be a brilliant outfit for that team. I also do want to give a lot of credit to a lot of other Chelsea players. I think Cucurella was much better when Jadon Sancho came on, maybe not from a defensive standpoint, but definitely going forward. He kept picking up them inverted positions, even elevated inverted positions, which were helping Sancho play off him a little bit. And I also think Vega had a relatively decent game, and I think considering that is a little bit of a makeshift left hand side for Chelsea, especially players that haven't necessarily played with each other at all before, it actually worked very well in this game against Bournemouth, and it wasn't flawless by any means, but that was the side that worked a lot more than the other side of the pitch. And overall, while there was a little bit of luck involved, of course the penalty and then the great save as well, and a brilliant performance by highly criticised Robert Sanchez in goal, Chelsea end up getting a very important win away against Bournemouth that puts them on actual good form going into a lot of games within the season. Now, I don't do too many videos on Chelsea, but if you guys like this video, I will continue to do more because I do think they are still a very interesting side with all their signings and everything going on with the club. But if they continue to get good results, I will highlight some key performances and players that definitely deserve a shout who are really good. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.